Hey internet, I know it's been a while. We had some technical difficulties. Someone decided it'd be a great idea to do a huge server upgrade on a Wednesday because, you know, PCs and servers, they always do the things that you wanted to the first time that you ask it to. Everything that was technological at all just didn't work for a couple days. So yeah, got a lot of guitar playing and hacky sacking. We packed a lot of nuts into packages that you buy, so you're the weird one. But yeah, so last week's episode might be a little bit outdated, and this week's episode, we're back, and I'm sitting down because I'm tired. But anyway, this is FAQ Friday. Here's the logo. I don't know what episode this is. 80, not maybe 90. I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna answer some of your questions about nuts and the other things that we stuff into packages. So, first question is from Michael McCann. I want to replace my Epiphone Peter Frampton Premium Texan nut. Well, why is it a Premium Texan? Are there just standard Texans? Do the premium ones have horses? I don't know. Anyway, would the PQ6060 tusked nut slotted quarter-inch Epiphone work? Thanks for any help, Michael. For an Epiphone acoustic, you'll want to go for the PQ6143. That's one that Epiphone buys for us. Anyway, next question. This next one is from Peters. Hello. I just bought a Godin A6 Ultra, and I'm assuming that the tusk saddle is stock with the guitar. If so, can you tell me what size the stock saddle is, and what saddle I should buy if I want to have lower action for playing more lead solos? Also, should I change the nut? Or am I better off having a luthier shave them down? Thanks, Ruba R.B. Peters II. So, the saddle that Godin, Get It Back, which is the company that builds all of the guitars, the one that they buy is the PQ9281. And for the nut, if it isn't ours already, then that will be the PQ1801. But no, that is our nut already. So again, that's one that they buy from this, and it's pre-slotted, so you probably won't have to do any modification to the nut. But worst case scenario, just like some minor sanding just to get it, you know, nice and flush and a perfect fit, since they buy that nut for a lot of their guitars. So yeah, anyway, those are the ones you want. All right, next one is from Harry Strong. Could you tell me what the part number would be for a GraphTech nut, black if possible, to fit an Epiphone SG Special? Thanks, Harry, Dayton, Ohio. So, if it was made before 2014, then you want to go for the PT6060, and if it was made after 2014, or in 2014, then the PQ6061. And yeah, that's the one you want. This next one is from Filippo. Hi, I recently bought a PQ9208-00 classical saddle. Can't tell if I will install it correctly. Which side goes forward? So, we have laser etching on our parts because companies wanted to, you know, advertise that they have the best parts in the world on it. It also helps cut down on pirates, because nobody likes pirates. They're like poachers, but like super old. That laser etching will face the sound hole. It's a classical guitar, so it might not have a sound hole, but it'll face the neck. Goes up. This next one is from Mike Driscoll. Love the concept of the tuners. I'm thinking of buying a set or two to try them out. Question 1. Tuner buttons. I'm kind of split on the look of the tuner buttons. Is it possible to replace the buttons with others that don't have the dimples? Question 2. I have 15 guitars with your nuts. I'm looking at trying your saddles also. I have a Stratocaster, Hipshot, and wood tone bridge. If I wanted to match what I have for your saddles, could you help me match them up? I'm wondering if I sent you an example, could you match me up? Thanks. Great lineup. Very innovative products. Best regards, Mike Driscoll. Driscoll. There's no G in it. Come on. All right, as far as question 1 is concerned, the mount that tuner buttons have is pretty standardized actually in the industry. So if you find buttons that have that mount on with a screw on the end, then they most likely will fit. We have not run into a situation where a button wouldn't fit on it, so I don't think anyone's doing any, you know, non-standardized mounting configuration thing for the buttons. And that dimple is our logo because it's a ratio, so it's like 16:1 or whatever. Here, see, there's that, and then you take the numbers away because nobody likes math, and you get our logo. So that's what that's there for. If you want like kind of keystone looking or wood or like plastic looking ones, and you find ones, I know like Japa parts, and there's a couple like German manufacturers. Anyway, probably all parts too. So any aftermarket button will be able to fit on there as long as it mounts with a screw at the end. And then question 2, yes, those bridges are still pretty straightforward. They're just like Strat style or Fender style tremolos. And for Hipshot, any of the 8000s usually work. And then for wood tone, or however you pronounce it, they also look very standard too. So yeah, any of the 8000-00, just check the EDE spacing on the bridges that you have, and then we've got 2 that'll fit them. So yeah, yes, and also yes, and yes. Our next one is from iRock2. What is the difference between NVS, NV1, and NV2? The tonal differences and difference in quote-unquote drag on string using a Bigsby vibrato. So, the NVS, NV1, NV2, though the only difference between the bridges is the saddles that are in them. The NV1 and NV2, which is just the metal saddles and our string saver saddles, and then the NVS were a thing that we used to make. So I'm not going to go into huge detail about them, but they're kind of a compromise in between both, and not a lot of people bought them, so we stopped making them. So anyway, we got the metal saddles, which are our Resimax alloy metal saddles, and they're going to be made out of a more resonant and lightweight material, same material as our bridges, compared to like the stock bridge. And most companies will use pot metal or zinc or some whatever other cheap, not good sounding material, because they're cheap, and also they're cheap. How many times do I have to say cheap? They're cheap. Anyway, the metal saddles will keep the, harshness or the spike of a metal saddle, and the string saver saddles will be a more well-rounded, kind of even frequency response. And they're also impregnated with PTFE, Teflon's trademark name. So they're permanently lubricated, and they're made out of our tusk material. So they are also super resonant. Yeah, a little more full-bodied and even frequency response, and other buzzwords that I can't think of right now. But especially on a Bigsby, will do wonders for tuning stability. Since they are permanently lubricated, they will just glide right over the strings and go back right into place where you have the tremolo arm thing set. So yeah, you should probably go with those ones. So any of the PS bridges that you see will be the ones loaded with string saver saddles, and those are the NV2s. This next one's from Philip Lonnie. Hello, I had a question. Does the PT6442, I think you mean PT6642, not come in white? If not, which one with that size, 42 mil, etc., in white would fit? Thanks, Phil Lonnie. Yes, we make the 6642 in white and white Tusk XL. They're just not listed on our site. So shoot me an email at sales@graphtech.com, and then we can do a special order for it. Then you can have that. Next one is from Max Ferry. Hi, GraphTech. I'm looking for a compensated tusk saddle for an older Larrivee, but none of the saddles I see give the saddle radius. Older ones are compound radius necks, 17 to 21. Newer ones, after 2016, are a straight 16-inch radius. This is the Larrivee saddle currently advertised for Larrivee. The 9220. Can you give me the radius of this saddle? Thanks. P.S. I would highly suggest that you include the saddle radii in the specs for your saddles. The only place I saw this info included was StewMac, and they apparently don't have a compensated one with the right radius. I already took a chance and bought one from Musician's Friend, but it's a 10-inch radius and useless to me. So, first off, some time ago, we used to show the radius of our parts. Since most people are kind of do-it-yourself kind of person, or just wanting to replace a nut or a saddle, and maybe they don't have all the right info, but since it's a pretty straightforward process, they're like, I can do it myself. And then they see the difference between like a 12-inch radius and a 16-inch radius on a saddle, and they go, oh, clearly that won't work, because those numbers don't match. But for saddles, it doesn't really matter. Most saddles are going to be around 15-inch radius, give or take a few inches. And the difference between even like a 14-inch radius and a 21-inch radius, the radius on that saddle is 14 inches. And the difference between, even if you did have that compound radius and you had a 21-inch radius fretboard at the end, which is really weird, that's a random number, but even the difference between that is so minute that you can barely see it when you compare two radius gauges for A. For B, the distance between the saddle and the fretboard is like, what, 2 feet, foot and a half, whatever. It's about the size of a smallmouth bass. There's plenty of room for that radius to even out, even though it is such a slight difference. So that's why we don't list the radiuses. If you're super nerdy and keen on knowing, you can just email us anytime. We can let you know. So, as long as all the specs, like the length and thickness, match up, that'll be the one you want to go with. This next one is from Matt McDonald. Hi, I'm looking to purchase a set of String Saver Classics for 2 3/16 space spread. However, I run some very heavy strings on my guitar. My low string is a 70 gauge Dia flat wound. Is there room for the classic saddles for that string, or should I go with the fully tusk saddles with no metal? Thanks, Matt McDonald. Well, if you're rocking a 70, then you want ones with all the metal. Anyway, yes, I run a 74. Not to have a string swinging contest, but yeah, I use a 74 gauge string on my low E, and I use the classics on my strats, and also a really cheap Yamaha that I got, and had no problem fitting them through, and I have not broken a string still, and it's going on, I don't know, 3.5, almost 4 years. So yeah, I use the originals and the classics, and a 74 gauge string will fit in there just fine. I don't remember having to shove it in or force it or anything. So yeah, you're good. This next one is from Lau Fonseca. Can you tell me which nut model Tusk is the one for a Gibson Les Paul Classic from 2017? Thank you, Lau. For that one, you want to go for the PQL 6011. Put on your Gibson. Make it stay in tune. Make the world better. This next one is from David Gribble. Hello from Thailand. I've just received this item and I've run into a problem while replacing the plastic nut on my Asia Strat copy. The original nut has a flat bottom that is angled towards the high E string. It plays perfectly in tune this way, so naturally when I installed your nut, it sits much too high on that side, making the notes very sharp. The other side seems close to the proper height. I thought it best to stop right there before I mess anything up. I'm not sure how to proceed in order to properly install this nut. Could you please advise me? I've attached photos for your review. Thanks in advance, David. So, with a lot of those cheaper guitars, they will glue the balls off of the nut into the slot. So, make sure that the slot is clean so that there's no residue of plastic or whatever they put in there to have the strings not move. And that should solve your problem. You can always sand the bottom of the nut. You can, if the old nut didn't disintegrate when you took it out, which is very common for really garbage plastic nuts, then you can kind of compare. You can take the old nut and put it up against the new nut and then compare the angle if it slopes or whatever. And then yeah, just use a fine grit piece of sandpaper, work slow. You can just slacken the strings and then put the nut in to tighten them back up, and then try it, and then if not, then, you know, put like a Sharpie mark on the one side so you know when you've gone down to a certain point. Yeah, those are all the suggestions. Oh wait, there's more. Hey man, I cleaned the neck slot a bit and I was able to get the nut seated properly. Hey, look at me. Height above the first fret is pretty good, no sharp notes, so no need to waste your time for this one now. However, I'm hearing some buzzing behind the nuts on the G string, open and then on the first few frets. There's no string trees on the D and G, so maybe not enough break angle. Another thing with the cheap guitars is sometimes they just forget things, because a lot of the time it's just a dude that commissions a factory to make, you know, hey, make me for the lowest rate, and then I'll sell them to people on Alibaba or whatever. Sometimes you get a hit or, it's always a hit or miss with those kind of things. But yes, it could be that the nut just doesn't have enough of downward pressure on it, so it's just kind of rattling the slot. If you mean there's a buzzing as in like there's kind of a sitar sound when you do play with an open string, again, that could just be that there isn't enough downward pressure. So to test that, if you push down the string behind the nut at the headstock and then strum, and if that fixes it, then just put a string tree in there. It doesn't really matter where you place it, as long as it's not directly in front of the nut or directly in front of the tuners. Just kind of in the middle. Yeah, it's not, yeah, pretty easy. And if that isn't the case, and there is plenty of downward pressure in this, you know, putting the pressure there doesn't fix it, there might just be an uneven spot that has been made somehow in the nut slot. So just take a, you know, really fine piece of sandpaper and just run it very lightly across the slot, and that should even it out. But yeah, hopefully that fixes all your problems. And okay, that's it. I'm done. Oh, we're back. Also, it's my birthday too, so I didn't want to rush and panic and film and edit an episode in like a day and a half. So I was like, I'm gonna just take the week off. The computers have spoken. They don't want to be used, and you know what? I don't want to use them either. So yeah, had a nice. Now I'm old. That's why I'm sitting. Knees, they're gone. That's it. Anyway, checked my handy dandy computer box that now works. So yeah, thanks for watching episode 86 of FAQ Friday. If you liked it, you can hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Hit the subscribe button, and there's a bell. There's playlists. And there's a dinosaur. Damn it, now I have to edit that in. Anyway, see you next week. Party hard.